last session, good setup, when we heard a lot about customer experience, AI over the day. So Pryon is an AI company. We're focused on employee experience, but employee experience actually drives customer experience, we believe. And so why did we choose to focus on employee experience? If you think about the life of an employee, you guys are all employees, we've seen some of the presentations, we're in a period of exponential growth. There's more and more information, more and more tasks, there's more and more people you have to interact with, there's more and more different business partners around the world. And if you look at the toolkit we've given employees, in the 2000s we gave them laptops so they could do more work when they're away from work. And in the 2010s we gave them mobile phones because they could do more work on a smaller screen with a worse keyboard. But we really haven't given employees many tools to do their jobs more effectively over the years. And we kind of reached a crisis point. You know this because you do email at midnight, and you're taking calls at 4 in the morning if you've got partners that are over in overseas in Asia. And so there's no way to manage all this. So we think that AI is going to be a key force to be able to help employees tackle this complexity, this exponential growth, and to make companies more successful. Now, Pryon is, we're about 2 years old. 9 months ago, we could have been in the presentations yesterday, another one of the startups looking for funding. Luckily, we found a good consortium of investors. We did a $20 million round in June, and so we've got a good bankroll now. We're hired a bunch of really smart people. Our founder, his first company was sold to Amazon. Its technology became the basis for Alexa. So we have some experience and background in sort of interacting with people in AI technology. We pulled a bunch of really smart people out of the IBM Watson team as well, including some of the folks that worked on the project that won at Jeopardy. So we've got a great technical team, a great management team, and we think the time is right now for AI to actually become relevant in the enterprise. I don't remember what I have in my charts here. In terms of positioning where we fit within the AI space, in the enterprise broadly, there's 3 categories of how AI is being applied. So one is around automation, and you see a lot of these RPA companies, ones that take the tasks that have a bunch of steps and are easy to replicate over and over again, and instead they automate them. So human beings don't have to go through sort of a purchase order approval process. You can click a button and everything goes through automatically. There's another set of capabilities that have to do with data and analytics on data. So we've all been hoarding data, collecting data over the last few years, and now there's tools that can look at that data, can crunch through it, and draw insights out of that data. There's a third piece, which we actually think is the most important, and this is human engagement. So ultimately, enterprises are made of employees, employees are people, and technology needs to be able to interact with people. It needs to be able to converse with people, and understand the work products that people create and draw insights from those. So we're really focused on human engagement, but the analytics and the automation are an important part of the workflows and the capabilities that AI delivers. So let's take a step a few years forward. And we've talked a lot about the future today. Let's just go 5 years forward, 2025. And what happens in this sort of nascent AI in the enterprise world? We think Wall Street will have picked the winners by 2025. And we'll be able to recognize them because the winners and the winners are going to be the ones that actually were able to get their AI strategies in place and be able to capture that data and gain insights from that data and then drive the results of understanding that data into their employee base and into their business. I can't tell you how many sort of Fortune 500 companies we've talked to where they're trying to get their AI strategy laid down, and they want to talk to anyone who's got some insights to help them, because they understand that where it used to be the last 5 years we talked about digital transformation, now everyone's thinking about AI transformation. This is hard coming back and forth to find what I got written on the charts. The companies, and I think it's the most important point, the companies that leave the employees out are going to be stranded. Because employees really are the key to your productivity and to your business. And so those insights that you're getting from the technology must be available to the employees and must help employees do their job. And finally, there's a lot of kind of point investments going on right now. So you see there's millions of companies out there in the AI space. There's technologies, but if you watch what's happening in research, you watch what's happening in the big guys like Google and Amazon, you watch what's happening in the productization and the startups, there's like a different technology every week that seems to be the best. And what we believe is if you're making investments in one technology or one solution, you could find a year from now that's totally obsoleted. There's some areas where literally every week there's a better solution coming out to specific problems, coming out of research organizations or large companies. So fundamentally, the companies that choose point solutions are going to lose out. The ones that choose a broad platform that allows them to incorporate different solutions over time are going to win. And so that's all, those are sort of insights that we use to drive our strategy. The organization chart of 2025 is going to look a bit different. So you're going to see the same functional organizations, you're still going to see people in there, but there's going to be AI assistants that are part of your organization. They're fundamentally linked to your employees, they're linked to your departments, you're linked to your functions, they're linked to special services and point applications. And these are going to be as important part of your organization as the people are. So these assistants are going to help the employees and the roles and the functions be more productive and be more successful. And this isn't just for the employees, it's also for customer service. And you're seeing evidence of this right now. So go back to 2017, we started to see these chatbots come out. And they were actually pretty lousy, and they still are pretty lousy today. But after those sort of point experiments, this year, more than half the companies are building AI strategies into their customer service and trying to figure out how to incorporate AI. And this is going to get better and better. So we think if you fast forward into 2025, you'll actually see your smartest, your best, your most capable agents will be managing collections of AI assistants that are handling those lower level tasks. So the previous panel talked about that. You know, one said, well, maybe 20 years from now we'll have that. One said, no, it's actually going to be 10. We're saying it's going to be 5. The technology is moving that fast that you'll be able to have a set of lower skilled, tier 0, tier 1 assistants that are automated and being supported by a higher level agent. So why do we need all this? If you look at what happens today. So 2025, we can't quite envision it, but if you just extrapolate from 2019 and what's going on today, so the amount of information coming in to an average employee, person in enterprise, takes about 4.2 hours to read everything. If you read everything that came in your inbox and came in via other sources, came in via channels, it would take 4.2 hours to read all that. Extrapolating out to 2025, and we've talked to lots of customers, we've talked to the analysts, we've sort of done some studies on this. There's a wide range of estimates, but conservatively, it's going to take about 20 hours based on the growth of information. We're talking to a CMO for a major healthcare provider. He said the amount of medical information that's being generated is doubling every 72 days. So how do you keep track of that? How do you get on top of it? Another senior person in a healthcare organization said, look, if we don't actually use AI as part of our practice, we're likely to be more liable when we make mistakes if we're not using this technology to help us deal with this amount of information, how to make decisions in such a complex and data-rich environment. You already know, if you're in a large corporation, you can't find information. Search within an enterprise is terrible. A large portion of the time it doesn't return results. People can't find what they need to know. And it's, with more information and a harder time to find it, it just makes it more and more challenging. People spend hours a week trying to look for things. The other thing that's growing is apps. And I was thinking about this. We've got more apps in our enterprise all the time. We're a startup. Must use 20 different apps. But if I look at myself personally, I travel a fair bit. There's 15 different travel apps on my phone. And I got to manage between all those darn things. So the complexity of the apps themselves, not just the data, is creating a greater and greater burden for people. I need to be conscious of the time, so I better move forward a little bit. So let's look at Mark. He lives in 2025. Mark is he's 28 years old. He's married, a couple kids, and he's got an AI assistant that's helping him. And his assistant.
You will.
So there's the problem, right? False positives. So his assistant, reads information, describes it for him, summarizes, operates his apps, searches for him, interacts with others, helps him make decisions. So there's a kind of a taxonomy and a hierarchy of how AI can help. Part of it's just lassoing all this information and managing for you. But as the AI and the assistants become more proactive and helps you with decision making, actually predicts and takes care of things and problems before they occur. So Mark, typical day, 314 messages, 47 pages of attachments, 149 reports or links or other information people have sent to him, 36 collaboration updates. I think this is low. I mean, this is actually close to my typical day right now. So how does he get a handle on that? Well, his assistant reads this for him, goes through the emails, have to wait for this thing to build out, calls through them, what are the important ones, what need to be responded to, maybe some can be responded automatically, forwards a few to Mark where he needs to provide assistance, deals with the attachments, the other data, and the collaboration updates. So suddenly, Mark's job is a lot reduced. And if you think back to 20 years ago, maybe more, 25, 30 years ago, a lot of managers and companies used to have an assistant. Someone actually did this. Went through the emails and picked out the important ones, replied to the ones, did the scheduling, and just passed up to the manager the important things that the manager had to deal with. This is what AI is going to bring back. So suddenly we'll be able to, all those things have been taken away, and that capability and that support is going to be brought back as AI reaches the right level of capability. In terms of finding information, and this is the harder and harder every day, that AI has its tendrils into all the information sources in the company, whether they're documents sitting in repositories, and more than half the information in enterprises is not structured stuff in databases, it's just documents and text laying around in various places that you saw that sometime in the past and you can't remember where it is. Or someone did write this document about how to deal with this particular problem, but you have no idea where it is. So the AI is linked into all those sources of information, brings them in, ingests them, and makes that information available, and then interacts naturally with human language with the employees. In terms of the apps, my 15 travel apps, I don't need to interact with them. I'm traveling. I have preferences. I have hotel. I have airplanes. I have Ubers. The assistant takes care of it, coordinates between these different sources, between the different apps. And at the level of app growth, I don't know how many screens you've got in your phone, different apps right now, it's growing almost exponentially. While Mark's sleeping, the assistant's looking through all the information that's coming in, all the alerts, all the requests, the other time zones where work is happening while Mark is asleep, bring that all together, filtering it, deciding what's the important stuff, reorganizing Mark's activities, perhaps. So if important customer in Hong Kong has an urgent issue, okay, we need to reschedule something because Mark has to be on a call at 8 a.m. his time, the assistant takes care of that. Maybe the assistant wakes him up. I don't know. We've been talking about that. Does it make sense to wake you up when in the middle of the night if something important comes up? So this becomes more powerful when your assistant works with other assistants. There's a whole network of assistants, we saw in the org chart. They're coordinating, they're working together, they're taking care of things. So there's a bunch of sort of dumb, simple stuff that can be taken care of. In this case, the example is, hey, Mark needs some information, and he needs to have an approval. Well, that's oftentimes a hard thing to do because the people that are approving, they may be out of the office, they may be busy in meetings, and commerce stops while you're waiting for that. But there's a set of privileges that Mark has. There's a set of privileges that the organizations he's interacting with know about, and the assistants can take care of authorizing access, or things like approving expense reports, or approving travels for when you've got a customer issue and have to leave right away. The assistants can take care of all of that coordination. Now, this one I think might be a little bit further out than 5 years. But we've gone from sort of getting information, coordinating, taking care of logistics, to actually deriving insights from information without the support of Mark. So Mark needs some guidance on a promotion plan, and the assistant is digging into the information, looking at the past results, and coming up with a recommendation. So we've now changed from just sort of reactive to Mark to proactive, and being able to help Mark and anticipate what Mark needs for his job. So what do you need to do this? There's a whole bunch of technology that's involved in being able to create these AI assistants. And we break it down into 4 lumps. fundamentally, we're interacting with humans. And so you have to be able to communicate as a human would communicate. You need to be able to understand natural language, whether it's speech or text. You need to be able to read information. And so much information is captured in documents and in text that human beings have created. You need to be able to summarize, because there's a ton of data that it's hard to act on unless you can summarize that and put it in a concrete format. You need to be able to interrogate, question and answer interactions. And you need to be able to search and have good results, good quality results come back. Once you've got information, you can build a workflow out of this. So I've got tasks, common tasks I need to do. I've got tasks that involve coordination with others, with other agents. That workflow needs to be created, needs to be automated, and needs to have semantic understanding of the intent in order to be able to produce the right results. Then there's this thing we call AI fusion. It's kind of a fuzzy name, but ultimately, as I said before, siloed point AI solutions are not going to be successful. And so what you need to be able to do is take different engines and different AI capabilities for different purposes, different assistants, and then synergize those together and be able to coordinate and operate them, maybe get results from 3 or 4 different sources, and pick the best result based on the use case, the user, the location, the customer, whatever. So you need to have that ability to sort of synthesize results across different engines and different AI capabilities. And finally, it needs to be deeply personalized. So what you want, the results you want, what outcome you expect depends on who you are. It depends on maybe where you're located, what department you're in, what your project is, what team you're working on. All those aspects of customization and personalization have to be incorporated into the response, into the actions that happen, into the workflow. So those are the things that we're working on writ large. And we've started, I guess it's kind of unusual for startups. Normally a startup says, hey, I got this great little widget I've designed. Let's see if we can make a business out of that. We started more from, hey, what's the world going to look like in 5, 6, 7 years? And then what technology do we need to get there? And then how do we build a widget we can sell? And a few more widgets to wrap around it and eventually get to that outcome. So we've taken kind of a different approach from normal startups. So if we bring it back to 2020, which is just the near future, not too far away. We heard earlier in the presentation that self-service is important. Whether you're talking about customer service or for employees, self-service is the name of the game. It's what everyone's trying to achieve. And we think that's an important area where AI assistants can help out. You know, chatbots are a good example. They're lousy today, they'll get better, but that's a self-service for a customer. For employees, we've seen a lot of self-service that looks like this. It's on the web. Right? Go use Concur. Go onto Workday, it's there. That's not self-service, right? That's abrogation. What you really need in self-service is something that can act the same way another person, an expert would, interact with you to get to a good result. And so this actually is, I think we heard earlier too, is super important because of the demographic changes and the expectation of workers. Millennials are now the biggest part of the workforce, and they don't want to talk to people. Right? They want to go via text, perhaps. They want to interact with technology, but they don't really want to have a long, drawn-out conversation. They don't want to call a call center agent. They want to call a help desk. So having something that provides that kind of service and the level of interaction required to solve the problem, but not get people in the way, is key. If we look at use cases around self-service, there's 3 that we've heard a lot of interest from. We do talk to a lot of customers. It's probably, I've been at the company 7, 8 months, probably talked to 60 customers so far. There's just so much interest in space. But the use cases we hear the most, one is broadly around employee self-service, and it's kind of interesting things. So people want travel to be automated and expenses to be automated. They want support for policy and compliance. This is a weird one. I wouldn't have expected this, but we have HR departments everywhere that are saying, hey, we've got an obligation to be compliant in our industry, and we've got a bunch of documents that tell our employees what they need to do, and we've got a bunch of training. Once a year, you go through your online training and read all the things, and you click and click and click, and you get your pass certificate, and then 6 months later, they have no idea. Because, right, you were able to learn it and capture it in your brain for the 30 minutes of that training, and then it's disappeared. There's other problems. So how can we help our employees be more compliant? And that gives us a higher probability of good outcome. It also gives us credibility if there is an issue that we can say we've done as much as we could. So how do we take all this stuff that's in text and in training, memorialize it, and make it accessible to an employee in real time at the point of an issue? So we've done a proof of concept with a customer with their security department. They want to have their employees more aware of cybersecurity, and they've gone through this training and the text and all that. But they know that when that spear phishing attack comes in, when that bad email shows up, the employee looks at the link and says, do I click that link? I know I was told not to click some links. Is this one of the ones I'm not supposed to click? Who can I call to tell me? I don't know. Where's it written down? I have no idea. Let's just click it. And so that one click, we talked to a customer, company, 60,000 employees. He said, if you stop that one click, you've paid for yourself, right? I don't care what you cost, you've paid for it if I just avoid one exploit in my enterprise. Another one is around call center agents. So human being in the loop, interacting with customers. But there's a lot of long tail information that your most senior agents have access to, may have experience, they've been through these scenarios, and your more junior staff, and there's a lot of turnover in call centers, more junior staff, lower tiers, don't know about. And so if you can get access to that long tail information, when the customer's got a question and it's not the top 20 questions that you get, to be able to find that information very quickly and be able to give it back, suddenly you empower lower tiers, less expensive people, less experienced people to do the jobs of more experienced people. And the last one really is around the automated customer service, the chat bots of this world. There's a lot of interest in that. For instance, we've seen examples where customers have, now that a lot of call centers are multi-channel or omni-channel, you've got a lot of chat transcripts, interactions with customers. Well, those are great things for training AI models. Take all those chat transcripts, take the most common questions, absorb them all, drive them in the model, and then be able to replicate the answers your best agents have given to those same kinds of questions. And suddenly you've got a chat bot. Normally, when you want to build these things, it takes months and months and months. Any kind of AI technology you want to implement with an enterprise, you typically bring in a bunch of people, they do a professional services engagement, they look at all your data, and they model it. They model into all these little components of what are the questions, what are the answers, what are the content, and then they throw that all into some big AI engine, and those specific things will now work. So if you ask this question, you'll get that answer. You ask a slightly different question, you won't get an answer. So these things are incredibly brittle and incredibly complex. A lot of our focus is how do you make that automated? How do you avoid having to go through that whole formal modeling? How do you take the information and just throw it in and make it work? One of the key capabilities around that is something we call reading comprehension. So we do have the ability, and this is some interesting model, interesting AI technology, where you can take a bunch of documents, throw them in, and with no formal modeling, be able to then ask questions and get decent answers back about the content of those documents. So that's typically the first sort of song and dance show we do with any customers. Okay, let's sort of point at a document or two documents, and you ask it some questions and see what comes back. And it's surprisingly good. I'd say it's not good enough. It's not good enough to handle like very large sets of documents and very large sets of questions, but it's actually surprisingly good compared to the alternatives today. And this is one of the fundamental capabilities that is going to make this transformation to AI systems possible. Because unless you can do that, unless you can just throw stuff at the machine and have the machine respond properly, there it is. It's just not going to be scalable. It's not going to be deployable. The interface to our technology is speech and text. So the entire architecture is API-driven. You choose what interface you want. You want to talk to it, fine. You want to text to it, fine. You want to write emails to it, fine. But ultimately, it's natural language. It's interacting with humans. And so as we build this out, this is probably my last chart, we started with this natural language base, so natural language understanding. Without that, you've got nothing. Then we're looking at aggregating all the information across the enterprise, automating those simple tasks, and then synthesizing, turning from the reactive to the proactive, synthesizing and making decisions from all this information. So that's our vision, that's the path we're on, and I finished in time, even for questions. How about that?